Cavallo, Mr. Chris Potts, Ms. Rosa Murray, and Mr. Artie Castanis. The question is, what do you believe is the best way to address the achievement gap? What successes have we seen in the Norwalk school system, and what steps has the town taken to secure available funds to help address this gap, which is significant in our district? Mr. Cavallo?
The best way to achieve to reduce the gap is, in my opinion, is to have a good, solid curriculum, and to understand that aside from all of the programs, the ancillary programs that the students are exposed to and have available to them, we really need to get down to the basics. We need to get down to having the children learn how to read, having the children learn math and arithmetic, and having basic good core curriculum, so that so each one of our children can compete with children from other towns as well as within their own groups. So my goal as a councilman, to the extent that I can provide it, in terms of the budget, is to ensure that our children are well-grounded in the basic core curriculum, in the basic core subjects.
Thank you very much. Mr. Chris Potts?
Thank you. First, I'm going to take just a second to thank my wife, Neola, for letting me come out here. This is what I'm doing on the evening of our 20th wedding anniversary. One of the things we need to address is just how we measure the achievement gap. In some cases, it's easy enough to just say, okay, well, we measured all the kids in third grade, and this was our difference. But what happens in our schools, we have kids coming from outside the school system, many times from other countries, consistently throughout the educational years. So that when you have a group of kids in the third grade, and if you just measured those kids in the fourth and fifth and sixth grade, you might see the achievement gap dropping. But when you add in the influx of new students, the overall gap seems to remain the same. So it looks as though we're not making any progress, when in fact we're making a great deal of progress. Another aspect is that I think most people agree the single biggest determinant on child achievement in school is parental involvement. And in some cases, we actually need to encourage parents to get more involved. And we can do that through advocacy through the schools or the PTOs, et cetera. And in other cases, we have parents who simply aren't equipped to be actively involved in their children's education. And we can handle that with greater emphasis on adult literacy and numeracy programs. Early childhood education is also a huge help in getting kids off to the right start. And I think that pretty much covers what I have to say on that subject.
Well, thank you very much. Mr. Rosemary?
Thank you. My thought about the achievement gap, which we struggle with, as I said, it's not just unique to Norwalk. It brings me to the mind of the school, the community partnership, as well as with our parents. Because to me, the achievement gap comes when you have the support of that student in all those areas. We look at having curriculum in place. Excuse me, voice. We have to be consistent with our students. One of the things that we talk about privately when we have our conversations are about growing up. Who do we have in our lives? We had caring adults who gave the same message. The message was the same, whether you're in school with your teacher, whether you're in the community, whether you were in your church, wherever, the message was the same. It was expectations of achievement. And I feel that once we have the total partnership of supporting our students, that will, excuse me, decrease our achievement gap. There's no silver bullet. It has to be a focus. This board and this district has focused their looking at the different styles of learning, and that is done with supporting teachers and helping them to understand the diversity in the classroom. But most of all, I believe it's a partnership. Included in that partnership is our corporations, our corporate sponsors and partners, because that's where the additional funding can come in. But we have to include them as part of the partnership for educating our students.
Thank you very much. Mr. Ernie Casillas?
I have a sample of CMT scores of a high-performing school in front of me. And even in a high-performing school, we have subgroups that are not performing as other groups. For instance, just an example here. We have white students that are 92% proficiency, yet black students are at 60% proficiency. We got problems. We have to fix this. What we have to do is we have to coordinate our curriculums across the board. We have to have a better flow from elementary to middle to high school. We need to get parents engaged. I said before that we need to take the PTO meetings from, let's say, Narragansett into South Norwalk, because a parent is not going to come, doesn't have transportation, cannot get involved in the student's life if they don't have transportation. We have to engage the parents. Parental involvement is number one way of bridging that gap. We also have to get children involved to help to get them invested in other children's lives. I'll give you an example. My daughter's in the 8th grade. She mentors kids after school. She invests herself into other kids. And you know what? A kid will listen to another kid. They may not listen to an adult, but they'll listen to another kid. We need to foster that mentorship a little bit more. And also, we need to look at successful schools, what they're doing. Why is it working? Why are they getting the results and we're not? You know, we can't just gloss over an overall number, because one number doesn't give us a good perspective of what's going on in the school. We really have to break it down, and we have to look at all the subgroups and make sure that there's a coordination across the board. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you again to all of our candidates. We appreciate very much the time that you've invested and sharing your thoughts and ideas. We appreciate very much your responding to the questions that were submitted by the parents and the members of our community. We also want to thank our organizers, the PTCs of Brookside Elementary, Fox Run Elementary, Rowayton Elementary, and the Rhoden Middle Schools. Thank you very much for putting this experience together. Most of all, I want to thank all of you for joining us. We've had about 100 people here, and you have sustained faithfully throughout the evening, even over time. So thank you for joining us. Your interest and efforts and attention with continued communication and collaboration are going to make us continue to grow and develop. Thank you all again, and good night.